Hello, good friends. This is Paul Lennon with the episode 35, English of my autobiography, which is now called A Naive and Sentimental Dubliner in the Legion of Christ and How He Survived. This part of chapter 12 is called The Kindness of Family. They forgave me for being estranged for such a long, long time. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't mine either. Separation from family has been difficult for me. We had been, if not demonstrative, very affectionate and close. When I joined the Legion, I did not think the order would be so strict in this aspect or so hard on me. The weaning from my father, mother, and four sisters began soon after entering the novitiate, cutting back on letter writing, the only communication I had with my family. A few years later, I believed I was resilient enough for any sacrifice, not being allowed to go to my sister's weddings, not being allowed to perform my younger sister's wedding after I was ordained. My dad died when I was 5 years in the Legion, just after a visit he and Mom paid to Rome in September 1966, which was at least a joyous and a joyful moment for them. I remember, and I've spoken before about that, when I joined the novitiate and I was writing my letter to my mom, I put your dear son Paul, naturally, and Father Cortez, who was the assistant novice instructor, said, no, no, please put Brother Paul Lennon, NLC, novice of the Legion of Christ. There you go. Anyway, I did continue to have a close relationship with my mother through the monthly letters, and she would write, I think, every week or something. All letters, of course, were screened according to that strict protocol. She had visited me, as I say, with my dad after 5 years in September of 66, and then my dad died in December. That was quite a tough one. The third time I saw my mom was at my ordination when she traveled to Rome with two of my sisters and a few aunts. The fourth time was when I was on my way from Spain to the USA in 1970, and when I was allowed 20 hours in Ireland, part of my annoyance, shall we say, with the Legion. I may have passed through Ireland, staying at the Legion House always in Clondalkin, during a trip to Europe in 1975, when commissioned to found the School of Faith. I think it was a what would I call, little candy Father Maciel gave me because I was helping to found his new idea of the School of Faith, a center of Catholic education for adults. During my time on the mission, in Mexico City, first of all, thanks to the hospitality and ingenuity of the lovely ladies of Lomas, I was able to wrangle a couple of visits for my mother. We enjoyed the time together and sightseeing immensely. I also spent some time with my mom. I think the second time I was sent on the missions, I was always looking for ways to get together with my mom. And I remember she enjoyed her trip to Cancun and being on the beach in several places there in beautiful area there of La Riviera Maya. And she was very good. She's very fond of the Coco Loco. I think I think my Mexican friends, my Guatemalan friends will like that very much. Yes, Paul, could I have another Coco Loco, please? We enjoyed whatever we could. When I transitioned to the diocesan priesthood at age 41, I began reclaiming my family. And then when I left the priesthood at age 45, long time later, I recovered my relationship with my sisters and my 17 nieces and nephews. We are now almost normal, despite missing all the in-between years. A very resilient family. And I wrote this in 2008, so 12 years ago. And we, thanks now with my wife, Aura, we've gone back to Ireland and spent more fond days with my sisters and nieces and nephews, grandnieces and grandnephews. There was a there's a little thing here I call, little paragraph which I call the fly in the ointment. Always wanting to wax literary. Let's see what it means. Let's see what it's about. And it's about medication, which is a very sore point for us former legionaries now because and I've spoken about this before, because the Legion uses medication to dumb down the members when they are ill or when they are doubting or when they are questioning or when they have a psychosomatic illness or whatever. So let me tell you about my episode. Somebody, one of my friends, they saw me in this total emotional and mental disarray. It was serious. I've said major depressive episode. Anyway, I've since, later on I found it was agitated depression. Not that I wanted to, you know, out myself, commit suicide, but I was blundering around. It was an agitated depression. I was not thinking clearly, and I was kind of lashing out in different directions. Lashing out with Father Maciel might have been even one of the expressions of it. Anyway, my friends gave me had a doctor friend, and he prescribed Ativan, which, as you know, is an anxiolytic. They had committed a common but serious mistake. When faced with the anxious, depressive patient, very often you treat the anxiety instead of the depression. Hey, listen up, psychiatrists and psychologists and doctors. So, for several months after my arrival in Washington, I could not get better. I was taking a medication that was making me worse. Nobody read the small print. I'm not in the habit of doing that. Before taking Ativan, quote, tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. It could have pushed me over the brink. Thank goodness I did not have a history of suicidal ideation. But I was the guinea pig that got all the side effects during the trial run. Listen, lightheadedness, drowsiness, dizziness, tiredness, blurred vision, sleep problems, sedation, amnesia, forgetfulness, trouble concentrating. That is what explains my walking into glass doors and hurting my nose and forehead, and thus feeling more klutzy and depressed, lacking energy to do anything and dragging myself around, being clumsy and stumbling into things, my inability to think clearly and make self-enhancing decisions, and that sedation making me feel like I was not myself, but a zombie. My My chemically induced agony ended when I ran out of the medication and let it lapse from inertia. I began to feel less bad. My therapy of stopping to smell the roses, my nature therapy, strolling around the beautiful neighborhood of Bethesda in Maryland that I have already shared with you, that was the cure. Highly recommended. Even if you're on Ativan, go out and smell the roses. See you later. Bye.